Welcome or welcome back to my channel, Chris Greenhill's Garage.
It's my channel and I have a cat.
Ugh, why do you have a cat in your lap?
Because she's sweet.
Ugh. Anyway, this video is going to be like an old Seinfeld episode. An episode about nothing. I'm just doing random miscellaneous things to Project White Trash. And someone here is going to hang out and pretend to help a little bit. And that's really it. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.
Yeah, all I really do is help him, like, move the hood. That's all I do.
Yeah, it's kind of useless.
Yeah.
I'm back. As I was wrapping up the last video, I kind of foolishly thought, man, I'm almost ready to get this car on the road. I'm almost ready to put the fenders back on, get the nose on it, get the windshield replaced, get this thing rolling. And I realized at the very end I was very wrong. I have no idea where the nut for the strut bolt went. I know I had all four of them. I thought it was on there. So I've got to take that bolt out and go down to the hardware store and try to find a new one. If you missed it in the last video, somehow I managed to install the struts wrong. And when I put the car on the ground and drove it out of the garage, the struts popped out of their housing. I'm going to have to take them apart to figure out what I did wrong there, but obviously I did something fairly wrong. The carburetor appears to now be leaking full time and not just when using it and under throttle. So I'm going to take the carburetor off and see if I can get that worked out. I also need to figure out my throttle bracket situation. Without this hose clamp on it, this throttle cable is pulling at an odd angle and it's popping this off. I need to find a way to scoot this over so that the throttle cable pulls more in line so that this doesn't pop off as easily. Golly, that's loose. I just found my old generic battery box lid. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find a way to get that on there and permanently mount the battery box. I really just have some self-tapping screws holding it in for now. Wow, I almost made another rookie mistake and almost screwed myself. I almost pulled the nut off the top of the struts without having the jack stands underneath the coil springs. If I'd have done that, the spring would have shot out, pulled the strut out of the top, and I'd need a spring compressor to get that back together. That would have been horrific. How much do I hate dealing with coil springs? So much so that if that would have happened, this car might have sat another 26 years. I guess I was in such a hurry to put these on the car last time, I didn't even notice that I'm missing the bottom bushing. There's a bushing that goes here with a bump stop. And maybe even the factory sleeve was supposed to be reused. I'm willing to bet I threw those away. These don't have it on them. I'm pretty sure we already junked the factory struts off of White Trash. And I bet the sleeves and the bushing, the bump stop, whatever you want to call it, I bet they were on it. It looks like my local parts store can order a replacement kit and have it here this afternoon. And I need to go find a replacement nut for the other strut. So, parts store run. I'll be taking Chris Jr.'s car, which if you saw the last video, you know now just fires up instantly. It's so exciting, the Junior's car just hot starts again. Beautiful. For $2, I have my new strut bolt washer and nut. They did not make the exact same bolt. Dorman doesn't make a replacement that I could find. So I just went to the hardware store. It's a metric 16 and I bought a washer and it's good enough. Sadly, Dorman does not make a replacement strut, bump stop, and bushing set. I had to order one from Energy Suspension. It'll be here in about 4 hours. It was about 3 times the price you'd expect for that kit. Good times. Trying to get the carburetor off, and good news is that with this hose clamp on here, this physically can't pop off. I mean, I know it's not right, it's not correct, but I don't really care because it's working really well. A little free thing I'm going to do, which I wish I could put it around the drain plug, but this oil pan doesn't have a drain plug on the bottom. I'm going to put a little magnet down here, pretty strong, and hopefully as the engine idles and runs, any metallic pieces that are floating through it will get hung on this, and then when I remove the magnet, drain the oil and they'll come out. I just went back through my QFT 750 Slayer carburetor, and every single screw and bolt in the entire carburetor was loose. Not just a little loose, real loose. The bowl bolts were loose. I hand tightened them down. Again, only with a nut driver, not a wrench, or you'll break them or strip them. These were loose. These things you can hand twist. God only knows how many vacuum leaks are coming in through here. And the accelerator pump was leaking like a sieve because these things were also hand loose. Whole carburetor had just come loose. I'm guessing that's just the gaskets contracting and everything from age and use. But tightened everything back up. We should be good to go and leak free. This inlet plug was super loose. I torqued it back down. Hopefully it's not leaking anymore. And the Teflon tape on my fuel logs looked like it was 100 years old. It was absolutely shredded and trashed and melted. And yes, it is gasoline rated Teflon tape. I actually went out and did that correctly and spent the money on it, which is super weird for me. Anyway, I'm resealing it. Hopefully this will set the carburetor straight. I'm hoping that simply turning this sliding bracket around will give me the angle I need to pull the throttle cable straight. A minor little quality of life thing I did was I rerouted the fuel line away from the distributor, so quit blocking it when I'm trying to time the engine. Ran it around this hose, put a little clamp on it to keep it out of the water pump pulley. Just little things to make life a little better. Turning that around did not work. I really dislike this throttle cable, or this throttle bracket rather. Really not fond of this throttle cable. It just keeps falling apart every time you try to tinker with it. After much experimentation, this simply is not going to do what I want it to do, so I put it back the way it was. This throttle cable is pretty cheap and flimsy. Without this hose clamp here, it actually kinks and binds right here at this joint and then pops off. So the hose clamp is staying. I did manage to tighten up the return spring quite a bit. This bottom return spring was kind of loose. It's very snappy now. While I wait on my other parts, let's fire it up. Let's see if the carburetor leaks. Oh yeah, I emptied the carburetor. Come on, pull fuel. This is going to take a second. It would help idling if I hooked up the hoses. Despite my best efforts, I had some leaks over here. Hopefully those are fixed now. It just will not start. Oh God, the carburetor's pouring gas right now. I just noticed that. Crap, I'm flooding the engine. I have screwed something up somewhere and I don't know how. All I did was tighten everything up, but the carburetor's just pouring gas now. I believe I have the needle and seat adjusted to where it's no longer pouring gasoline, but that's weird because I did not adjust those earlier. So I'm not sure what changed. Well, we're not losing fuel pressure like we were. It is still dumping gas. Ah, damn it. Finally got this thing adjusted and got it to start. No longer dumping gas. I got it cleaned up. I'm not seeing any new leaks yet. Our fuel pressure went kind of crazy. It went over 9 a little bit ago, so I dialed it back down to about 3.5 to 4. I'm guessing that's because there are no more leaks in the carburetor and it's actually building more fuel pressure. Looking good and dry up top. I adjusted the idle circuit. It's idling the best it's idled. No more black smoke. I think I might have actually gotten all the leaks. Still smells a little bit fat back here, so I'm going to dial it back a little bit more and lean it out. Let's see if it smoke clouds us out the back. Oof, yes it is. That's not good. Leaned it out a little more. Let's see if it's still smoking bad. Yeah, it is. Dang it. As much smoke as that is, I was afraid that was oil smoke, but it is definitely gasoline. It is not oil. That is burning fat. Something has happened. We have clearly lost the water temperature gauge. It's been running a while. There's no way it's running 130. No, the gauge is dead. I don't know what's happened there. The temperature gauge is clearly hot. The engine's got plenty of heat. Everything's warm, but the temperature gauge is not working for some reason all of a sudden. The cable appears to be unburned. Why did you shut off? Not sure why it shut off, other than maybe fouled spark plugs. It was idling fine and then just turned off, but everything appears to be normal operating temperature. There's nothing so hot that I can't touch it. Let's see if it starts. Okie dokie. Seems normal. That was weird. The temperature gauge is just dead. The cable's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just sitting here, but something's happened to it and killed it. I wonder if it's under warranty. It is definitely leaning out a little. A little puff of unburnt gas, but nowhere near what it was. Oh. It has been running a very long time. Hopefully not overheating because, you know, our temperature gauge died. But no new leaks. These are old leaks. They're sticky. I can't get them off. I don't see any new leaks of gasoline anywhere. So I'm happy with this. My bushings came in. Earlier I said that the energy suspension stuff cost about 3 times what it should. That wasn't what I actually meant. I meant to say it cost about 3 times what the equivalent Dorman kit would cost if they made one, and I was hoping to cheapskate out of this. Energy suspension is definitely worth the money. I was just hoping to get away with a lot less money today. But Dorman doesn't make a strut bushing kit. They only make shock bushings for this car for some reason. So anyway, bushings are going on. I do not have the factory dust boot that goes over this, and I didn't want the bushing to ride on the top of this thing, so I have these giant washers. I'm going to put a washer on the top and the bottom. Then when this comes down, hopefully that'll hold everything together. Unfortunately, this kit doesn't come with a true bump stop, and my bump stops are gone, so we'll see how this goes. Wondering if that can be used as a bump stop. This is the old factory top off this thing. Looks promising. Everything seems to be going well, except I can't get the freaking struts to tighten down any tighter. They're just spinning, and now I can't find a vice grip to grip them with. Frustrating. It has been a very long time. I did not realize I did not have these travel limiter washers here that keep the strut from going up, and that's the piece I was missing. So I finally got those energy suspension bushings in, top and bottom, and they are no joke. It is brutally hard to compress them. Even my big impact gun didn't want to do it, but they are in both sides, and the car feels like a car suspension again. So finally, I'm just about out of time today. Since everything has taken 10 times longer than it was supposed to today, this is the last thing I'm doing. Yes! I can finally start my car from inside the cab. I know it's generic. I don't care. My local parts store just told me to disconnect the gauges and bring them in, and they would swap them out for new ones for me. It's awful nice of them. Well, that's it for today. I'm feeling pretty good about what I accomplished in one day. Forgot to mention earlier, Junior's sick. He's throwing up, running a fever, so that's why I'm working alone today. He might be back tomorrow, or if not, then next week. Our local O'Reilly's warrantied out our gauges in about 5 minutes, no questions asked. I thank you, O'Reilly's. They're always very good to Chris and I. Here is what I suspect is wrong with these gauges. These things come out of the box crimped and kinked and all twisted up, and these temperature gauge wires are very, very sensitive to that kind of thing, which mine was laying out flat and wasn't crimped up and went out. Who knows? You never know whether it's the actual gauge or the wire or the sensor or what it is. And the new gauge kit came with all the accessories that I didn't get with the last gauge kit. Someone stole out of them, which is nice. Of course, I went and bought all that stuff separately a while back, so I don't need it, but it's nice to have spares. Got the car back up in the air. I'm going to do possibly the most important job I've needed to do, and the one I've dreaded the most. I'm going to try to adjust the clutch. The clutch cable and quadrant move the moment I touch the pedal. You can see that. It is taking slack up. There's no real slack up here. But for some reason, the clutch does not engage till essentially on the floor. And you hear that scrape? Can you hear that? That's... yeah. I'm going to have to clearance that. That's the fork arm on the clutch hitting the headers. You have to look for witness marks. But besides that, the clutch does not release right off the floor. The clutch releases like here, which is driving me insane. Look who finally joined us. He's going to help me adjust the clutch, and he's so excited about it too. And I think it's time to do some header bashing. I'm not sure there's any way to get this clutch arm to clear otherwise. You can see I've already cut quite a bit off of it, and I'm out of places to cut. Oh man. I'm trying to remember if I have to use that hole, if I can bring this up and use this one, and whether I'll get more clutch travel that way or the other way. Either way, this is just free slack. The throwout bearing starts riding on the clutch there, so I think I should have just a little bit of space there, but it just rides on here full time no matter what I do. I'm not sure how I'm going to bash this header in. Well, I tried to use the top hole on the fork rod, but you can see what it's doing to the cable. It's binding the cable, pulling at an odd angle, and we're not getting any more clutch throw than we already had, so I guess I'm going to go back to the other hole. I just realized what our main problem is. This is moving when you use the clutch, and that's because we don't have the snap ring, the little pin that goes around this groove in the clutch cable. So this thing is just going back and forth as we use the clutch. I have no idea where that is or how to get a new one. Good times. In my giant vast collection of nonsense and garbage, I do not have any of these internal tooth lock washers that will fit what I need. I guess I'm going to have to run down to the hardware store and see if they do. May have just solved the problem. Let's go see. Huzzah! Yes, nice and firm and in place. Perfect. Push it all the way down. Back up. All the way down. Back up. I'm not sure if you can see that on video. The entire header is moving. Yeah, it's got to be clearance. There's no way around it. It's moving the entire header. As you can see, I have failed to clearance this. You can see where I've hit the header a few times. It's actually making it worse, I think. There's just no way to hit it from the top and bash this in. I just can't get the angle. There's no space up top to hit it from the top. I've tried to hit it at this angle, and all I've done is hit the side, and arguably made it worse. There's no space to pry. There's nothing to pry on, so I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. There's also no real material left on this thing to cut off. As you can see, I got the grinder wheel out, the cutoff wheel, and I went at the bottom of this thing, chewed it all up. It still rides on the header. Push it in, Chris. All the way down. That's all the way down. Back out. Still moves the header a little bit. Still don't have a whole lot of clutch throw, but that's as good as it's going to get. I'm going to go see it from the top for myself. I can already tell that nothing has really changed. It's probably going to require a new clutch cable or something. I don't even know at this point. This is driving me crazy. The clutch is still all the way on the ground with all the slack taken out of it. Decided to pull some other spark plugs just to check them. Just because I was paranoid. I was worried that the number one plug I pulled was blackened and looked overly rich. I started thinking, what if that's oil? Remember, number 1 and number 5 were down on compression when we dry tested it, but they're all pretty black and fouled. So hopefully it's just running too rich. Good boy. One pump. Check it out. I invented push button start. Give it a pump. Oh, this again. I think it's those fouled out plugs. Hold on. Our MSD came disconnected again. I'm going to put a zip tie in that to keep that from happening. The new temperature gauge is working. Now I'm going to let it idle a while and just make sure it's still running nice and cool. All that adjusting, all that grinding, everything I did, I probably got myself an extra ½ inch off the floor. I think the clutch is just going to always be an on-off switch. It just fully engages and then fully disengages all at once, no matter where. So I'll just have to get used to it, I guess. That problem is fixed. Rev it up. All right, stop. I think I have the carburetor about right now. It's not black clouding like it was. Good. All right, nowhere near as bad as it was. Probably some fouled plugs and a little bit more tuning. It has been running a very long time and it hasn't even gotten over 180. Of course, that's not a highway temperature or anything, but we've been revving it up quite a bit. It's been idling a long time, so it looks like it's going to idle in the 175 range, which is very good. That is the number one reason that I like those stock cooling fans. The clutch throws ever so slightly better. We're not moving, 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 we're not moving. Now we are rolling a little. Now we're going. That's better than it was. Then it's an on-off switch. A little bit warm, isn't it, buddy? All right, that's it for today. I'm satisfied with the clutch adjustment and the tuning of the carburetors. Close enough and good enough is good enough for Chris Greenhill's garage. From what I can gather reading online, my issue with the clearance of these headers and the clutch arm and all that is because these are very, very old Mack headers. They existed before the 94, 95 Mustangs came out in the different length T5 and clutch arm and all of that. Supposedly the ones that came in the later 90s will accommodate this transmission and clutch arm without a problem. Also, the ones made for an automatic transmission, an AOD, will also possibly clear my clutch arm and transmission without an issue. Unfortunately, I have neither of those, and mine were only made to clear a Fox body T5 with a manual transmission and nothing else, and that's what I'm stuck with. So there's not a lot that can be done about it. Oh well. I've got the black tack out of Junior's car wired up, and I'm going to fire it up and see if it works. The light kicked on immediately. That's a good sign. Seems to be working just fine. aren't you idling? Gave it a little bit of choke, and it's idling just fine now. Tachometer seems to be working. The next thing I've got to do is get this oil dipstick installed properly. It was never overly secure, but it has now backed itself out and is completely loose. Yeah, it just came apart completely. I've got to figure out how to get that in there. I have this thing about as tight as I can get it. Give it a little tug, buddy. Just make sure that oil dipstick feels snug. Make sure it's not going to come out of there.
Yeah, that's good.
Feels good?
Yep.
All right, good. Because we have an extra tachometer, I've decided to mount it under the hood. And then I'm going to put the white one in the car. Clearly it was my idea. Admire my genius, the boy.
It was my idea.
What? What'd you say?
It was my idea.
It was not. Definitely not. No way you come up with something that amazing.
I even found a bracket.
Ugh. And as soon as I have something to mount this to in the car, I will mount this inside. The underhood tack idea may or may not have been Junior's idea. Good job, the boy.
I know.
Beautiful. Not that part. Why do you keep stalling? I was hopeful I was going to be able to use the lid to my little cheap generic marine battery box. And it will fit in there. Problem is it's so tall, the hood will never close on it. It sits way up here. The lid actually sits that high up off the box. So that's not going to work. Huzzah! We got the same little generic nylon strap battery tie down that we put on Junior's car, but it is something versus nothing. That is it for Project White Trash for now. I've got some other things to do coming up. I'm going to try to get the car together next, get the fenders on it, the nose, the hood, make it look like a car again. That way I can pull it outside and leave it outside for a little bit. But a lot of other things have come up. Junior's car is down again. He is currently welding on it because we can't drive it. That's this whole other thing that we'll have to fix in the next couple of weeks. And we have a lot of just regular, normal family things coming up. I've got some extra jobs to do, so I may not get back to White Trash for a few weeks. But thanks for watching. I appreciate it.